All right, folks, welcome back. Professor Almeida here to walk you through Excel Guided Project 1-3. So you can see it's nighttime now. I've been pretty much doing a bunch of walkthrough videos all day. So let's get into it and talk about Microsoft Excel. Okay, let's get into Canvas here real quick. All right, so I have my Windows virtual machine all set up. So make sure that you do your training sim before tackling this project. Okay, for some of you, this is going to be a bit of a learning curve. You know, you've had Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, and now we're dealing with spreadsheets. Okay, to get started on the project, just simply follow this link. Here's what it looks like. Grab your start file, and I'm going to save it to my downloads. And from there, we'll take a look at the instructions. By the way, and this is really important, if you can, print out your instructions so that you have a checklist in front of you. Okay? It's very important because you might miss something, and I certainly did. All right, I'm going to reset my progress because I was playing around with this project earlier. So let's go ahead, open up the spreadsheet. And enable editing. You don't need to save it. So this is what Microsoft Excel looks like. It should be a bit familiar by now because you still have the quick access toolbar in the top left, your title bar, your search bar, Microsoft account, ribbon display, minimize, restore down, maximize, close, status bar at the bottom. You have your ribbon with your ribbon groups. Hopefully some of these groups are familiar by now. And that's pretty much it as far as familiarity. We're dealing with spreadsheets, okay? And with spreadsheets, you can populate them with data, make some calculations, format them to look pretty, and then present visuals so that the data is easy to understand. Now, in a perfect world, you would start out with a blank spreadsheet. You would sketch out what your spreadsheet's going to look like. Let's say, for example, you're doing a profit and loss report. So you would have a table, and I use that term lightly. You would have a table with your income and categories, and then you have another table with your expenses, things such as rent, food, gas, overhead if you're running a business, right? So things like that, having to pay your employees. And then you have your net income, right? That's the money left over after spending it on expenses. So you have your income, you have your expenses, and then you have your net income. You could also think of it this way. Let's say you keep a monthly budget, right? Your income could be a paycheck, right? And then you have your expenses, rent, utilities, food, gas, groceries. That net income is what you have left over, okay? So once you have the structure of your spreadsheet built, you would then populate it with some data, you make calculations, and then finally you format it to make it look pretty. Well, that's in a perfect world. In the real world, you're probably going to be dealing with something like this. Okay, so what do we have here? Right now, this spreadsheet is split up. You have 4 different views here, and I want to quickly fix this issue before we go any further. Okay, so that's step 2 here. We're going to go to the View tab window group and click on the Split button. Okay, View tab window group. Click on Split, and that gets rid of the split windows. Okay, much better. Now I can explain these concepts to you. All right, so we have these columns here, right? These columns are lettered. You have rows, and they're numbered. And then you have these intersections of columns and rows. These are what are called cells, right? And right now, where the green border is, this is indicating the active cell. This active cell happens to be B2, right? Here's column B, here's row 2. So it's B2, this would be C2, and so forth. Now, what do we do with these cells? These cells can consist of text, as you can see here with cell B3. They can consist of text or they can consist of values. Values can be numbers such as 8. They can be formulas like this, or they can be functions, right? Functions are really just predefined formulas. Okay, so those are some of the basics here. Your cells can either be text or they can be values. You'll also notice that your text is aligned to the left in the cell by default, and your values are aligned to the right. Of course, you can always change this, as you will see later on when we start working with cell styles. Okay, so enough about that. Let's get into this project. All right, step 2. We need to freeze the column titles, and we're going to choose cell A4 to do this. Okay, I just click on cell A4, and what this will do when we freeze panes, it's going to freeze rows 1 through 3. We're still here in the View tab window group. We're going to choose freeze panes and then freeze panes. Now watch what happens. When I scroll, notice how rows 1 through 3 stay in place. Okay, that's how to freeze panes. Okay, we're keeping it simple here. We're not going to do anything complicated just yet. Let's go to cell E31. They tell you to scroll to row 31, and they just want to show you that the column titles are frozen. Let me show you another trick here, because I don't have a whole lot of screen real estate, and if you have a large worksheet, the name box here is your friend, right? I can just type in cell E31, boom, and it takes me there. By the way, Control Home and Control N work as well. Normally Control Home would take you to cell A1, but in this case, because we've frozen rows 1 through 3, A4 is actually the first cell, for now at least. Okay, and I got a little ahead of myself, so we need to go back to cell E31, no problem, right? It's just practice. And we'll change the quantity value to 3. I could just type it directly into the active cell. If I want, I could also use the formula bar, but we're going to use this for now. So I type in 3 and I hit enter. So that takes care of 2F, and then 2G. We're going to Control Home back to cell A4. Okay, so we'll hit Control Home and we're back to cell A4. Let me save the spreadsheet for now. By the way, a couple other terms here. This spreadsheet in Excel world is called a worksheet. Now, you could have as many spreadsheets as you want inside an Excel file. The Excel file itself is called a workbook. Okay, so when you hear workbook, think of the Excel file itself, and then the worksheets refer to the individual spreadsheets. Okay, I hope that makes some sense. All right, so let's get through this project here. We're on step 3, change zoom size and unfreeze the pane. Now, in the View tab zoom group, they want us to click on 100%. And by the way, you'll find, just like in Word and PowerPoint with Excel, there's multiple ways to do things. You can set 100% here too if you'd like, or you can click on zoom, does the same thing, right? But here we have 100%. Okay. And now we're going to unfreeze panes and go to cell A1. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, right? Let's unfreeze panes and then Control Home to cell A1. Boom. There you go. Now, let's quickly check spelling in step 4 here. So just like in Word and PowerPoint, you'll go to the Review tab proofing group, click on spelling. Let's change all, and you're good to go. That takes care of step 4. And need to check all these boxes here. All right, scroll down. Now, step 5. Let's take a look at cell H4. As I mentioned before, with cells, you can have formulas as values. All formulas start with an equal sign, by the way. And here we're multiplying the contents of E4 by G4. Okay, that asterisk indicates multiplication. And whenever you're dealing with arithmetic, right, addition uses the plus sign, subtraction uses the minus sign. So you would type those on your keyboard. Asterisk is multiplication, and a forward slash, right? Forward slash, that is division. Okay, but you always start formulas with an equal sign, and that's the same case with functions too. All right, So right now, I want to show you this. I want to show you this real quick. So right now we're looking at the formula here, E4 times G4. Notice how E4 is in blue and G4 is in red. Okay, this is what's called the range finder. And we use this so that you can visually see that these are the correct cells that you're referring to. Okay, this is how you can basically double check your formula. All right, let me cancel out of this or get out of here. All right, so cancel. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, what they're asking us to do is to fill this entire column. Now, normally what you would do here is you would take the fill handle, that's this cross, and then you would just basically drag it down. But let me show you another way here. If we wanted to fill the rest of this column, right, we have the fill handle. If I double click, watch what happens. Boom. So it ends up filling the entire column here. And Excel is pretty smart to figure it out, by the way. And if you want to convince yourself, take a look at the formula bar. And you also have your autofill options here as well. Okay, so that takes care of step 5. And then we'll control home to go back to cell A1. All right. All right, how are we doing, folks? If this is helping you out, hit that like button. If it's not working out, well, you know what to do. Also, double clicking on the fill handle, that's something I don't normally show other COSA classes. So let me know if this is something new that you learned today. And if you are from my other COSA classes, you're probably just checking this video out. Hey, you just learned something new right now. So there you go. Okay, let's get into formatting here. So again, in the real world, you know, you would set up your structure, you would populate with data, you make the calculations, you make it look pretty. Well, this is the real world here. We already have something and we have to make a couple of adjustments. So in step 6, what they want us to do is to change the theme to Ion. And to do that, we go into the page layout tab, themes group, choose themes. Now we get a live preview. Notice what's happening, by the way. Okay, watch your columns along with the cell contents. So if you're making any adjustments to column widths and row heights, pay attention if you're changing themes. Okay, you might want to go back and double check. So we changed to the Ion theme. Now let's merge and center the titles. What they want us to do here is to merge and center the range A1 to J1 and then A2 to J2. So what do they mean by this? A1 is the first cell, and then it would be B1, C1, D1, and so forth, all the way to J1. So this colon is the separator. This is the first cell in the group, and then the last cell. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, professor, why can't we just do this, right? Why can't you just do this? Well, here's what happens. Okay, if I try to merge and center, right? If I try to merge and center, this is what ends up happening. Okay, it warns you, whoops, that's not what we want. Okay, so you can't do that. What we have to do is row by row here. Okay, A1 to J1. Notice the white cross. Okay, A1 to J1. And if you don't trust yourself there in dragging to select, here's what you could do with the name box. Check this out. A1 colon J1. Boom. Okay, well, let me show you one more time. Okay, watch again. A1 to J1. Boom. There you go. Now you've selected the range, and we can merge and center as found in the Home tab alignment group. Okay, they do give you the hint there. Let's do the same thing for A2 to J2. Okay, one more time. Watch what I do. I go in the name box. Okay, A2 to J2. Right, and then merge and center. Okay, just like that. Make sure to save. Okay, let's apply cell styles. So, if you remember from Microsoft Word, I use this metaphor with car stereos, right? Rather than, you know, fiddling the tuning knob, looking for a radio station, for those of you who still listen to radio, right? Rather than trying to find the station you want to listen to, you had certain presets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you can set the radio station to each preset. So for example, like button 1, you would have 93.5 and then 94.7 for number 2, 98.7 for number 3. So rather than having to fiddle with the knob, you just hit button number 2 and it takes you to 94.7. Okay, so you do the same thing in Microsoft Word with styles, right? Rather than having to change the font, change the font size, change the color every single time, you can just do it with one click. Well, in Excel, you can do the same thing with cells, right? Rather than changing a range of cells to a certain font size and then changing the font and changing the background color, you could do all of that in one click and save yourself the trouble. So let me show you how this works. Okay, so what they want us to do here with cell A1, we're going to use the title style. So we'll just choose cell A1. You can see all of this is cell A1. Home tab styles group, cell styles. You get that live preview, right? There's the title style. Again, it's all done for you. And then in cell A2, we're going to use heading 4. Okay, just like that. Now, just because we use cell styles, that doesn't mean, we can't change anything. We can always override. So for cell A2, we're going to change that font size to 14. Okay, we're going to override the style there. Okay, there you go. Now, let's select rows 1 and 2, and we need to change the row height. So let me show you how to select things here. This downward facing arrow selects columns. This rightward facing arrow selects rows. So check this out. I can drag down to select rows 1 and 2, or you can use 1 column 2. It's the same thing. And I'm going to right click and select row height. And they want us to change it to a value of 22. Okay, let me double check that. 22. By the way, if you make a mistake, you can always hit undo. Okay, so if you go up here in the quick access toolbar, you can back up if you make a mistake. Okay, so we set this to 22. Select cells A3 to J3. Again, I'm just going to use the name box here. A3 to J3. Okay, so A3 to J3 has been selected. And we're going to apply light yellow 40% accent 3 cell style. So again, we go to cell styles and use your tooltip here, light yellow 40% accent 3. Boom, just like that. We save. Apply bold to the selected cells. And you can use Control B. That works too. All right, Control B. Hey, why is it not doing it? There it goes. All right, select row 3. And point to the bottom border to display the resize arrow. And then we're going to drag to select 21 characters. Okay, or 28 pixels. So here's what it looks like. There's that double-headed arrow, and then we're going to drag down to change it to 21. By the way, this also works for columns too. Okay, this works for columns too. And we can also do what's called autofit. You'll see that later on. Okay, 21. There we go. You'll see that later on. Okay. Click the zoom out button in the status bar so you can see all rows from 1 to 39. Yes, you can do that like this, but there was a reason why I showed you the method here with the name box. Okay, if you have a large worksheet, or if you don't have the real estate like I do here, I don't have the real estate, I can just use the name box to select a large range of cells. Okay, in this case, D4 to F39. Okay, check this out. D4 to F39. Watch this. I typed this in the name box. D4 to F39. I don't need to worry about scrolling through my worksheet anymore. I can go in and do whatever they're asking. In this case, click the center button in the Home tab alignment group. Right here, center. Boom. Just like that. Okay. Now, G4 to H39. Again, I go to the name box. G4 to H39. Okay, what do they want us to do here? We're going to choose the accounting number format in the Home tab number group. This is the accounting number format. Here's what it does. You have the $ flush to the left and your values to the right. This right here, all these pound signs, this tells you that your column is not wide enough to display the contents. We're going to take care of that in step J. Okay, 9J. Now, A3 to J39. A3 to J39. Okay, that selects all of this. Now, we're going to choose all borders in the Home tab font group. Again, with these guided projects, take note of the hints that they're giving you. Okay, so here you go, borders, all borders. Just like that. While the cells are selected, change the font size to 12. I'll just type it in just to show you how that option as well. Okay, let me save. All right. B4 to C39. B4 to C39. B4 to C39. Okay, so again, I just used the name box. Saves myself some trouble here. We're going to click the increase indent button once. Okay, if you've been paying attention with Word and PowerPoint, this should look familiar. All right, increase indent, boom. Okay. Now, click and drag to select columns A through J. Here's the downward facing arrow. Watch what I do. All the way across. And now we're going to perform the auto fit. Okay, you have that double-headed arrow, and you just double click. Boom. 1, 2. 1, 2. There you go. Okay, now you can see all the contents here. So that's the auto fit. You just double click. All right. Be careful here. Don't forget about this. Select and center align the labels in row 3. So we go back up, we select row 3, okay, and then you just hit center. Don't be fooled by this. This is middle align. This is something else, okay? I've already gone through this project, so you want to use center here. By the way, in Excel, notice that you don't have a keyboard shortcut for center. Okay, in Word it was Control E, but Control E is flash fill. That's something different. All right, step 10. Insert a column and create a pattern to fill data. So we're going to right-click column heading B and choose Insert to create a new column B. Okay, see? There you go. So now we have a new column B. Okay. In cell B3, we're going to type disc question mark. Okay, what it is discount. Disc question mark and hit enter. Now, for cells B4 and B5, we put in no, no, and then for B6, we have yes. And yes, I got ahead of myself here. Okay, so B4, B5, B6. The pattern is 2 occurrences of no and 1 occurrence of yes, and then we select B4 to B6 and increase the indent twice. Okay, so we increase the indent twice. Why are we doing this? Because watch what happens. I'm going to double click on the fill handle just like we did before. 1, 2, and we filled all the way to the bottom. Okay, almost there. Select cells A4 to A39, increase the indent once. Okay, again, I use the name box. A4 to A39, and then just increase indent once, and then Control Home to go back to cell A1. Okay, so you can see how I'm saving you a lot of steps here. All right, folks, how are we doing? This might be a good point to take a break. So we'll be right back in a moment. Okay, let's go ahead and continue here. All right, so we are now on step 11. Let's rename the worksheet, the sheet tab here. We can just double click and rename it to inventory. All right, you also have other couple of options. If you right click, you'll see rename. You can create tab colors and so forth to make it easier if you have a lot of spreadsheets. Okay, double check your spelling, inventory. Step 11's done. Let's go to step 12. Use the page layout view to insert a footer. Now, let me show you something here. If I go to the page layout tab, or excuse me, page layout. Yeah, you see, it gets a little confusing, right? You're thinking page layout tab, but there's also page layout view. Okay, so I misspoke there. And you'll see we have add header. I know that you can scroll down, right? You can scroll down to the bottom you know, once you have your footer. So we'll click where it says add header, go to footer, boom. Okay, so right here we're at the footer. So one more time, let me get out of this. Okay, so you have that add footer, right? And yes, I know you can scroll down to do that. Okay, you could scroll down and add footer, but the method they're showing you here is to click to add header, and then in the header and footer tab, you just go to footer. You know, multiple ways of doing the same thing. Okay. All right. So what they want us to do here is to add the file name to the middle section. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So in the header and footer tab, go to header and footer elements, just click on file name. Don't worry about this, Excel knows what to do with it. And to convince yourself, there's the name of the file, and then we just get out of this, and then from there they want us to go back to normal view and control home. Okay, so go to normal view, control home. So normal view, control home. All right, moving right along. Step 13, change page setup options. Okay, page setup options. Click the page layout tab. Okay, hold on a second here. I'm missing something. Let me go back up. Okay, click the page layout tab, click the page setup launcher. I don't know why they tell you go to normal view here. All right. And yes, this can be confusing, right? You see page layout tab, there's page layout tab, but you're also thinking page layout view. So I can see how the instructions can be a little bit confusing here. All right, they want us to bring up the page setup dialog box launcher, and yes, I know you can change the orientation directly in the ribbon, but they want you to do this, right? Choose the landscaping, and then for scaling, fit 1 page wide by 1 tall. Again, here it is in the instructions. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. Click OK, and then switch to normal view and press Control Home. I don't know why, but it's there. Okay, so go ahead, click OK. You're still in normal view, but in case for some reason you changed views, go to normal view, Control Home to take you back to cell A1. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and set a print area. And let me show you why here. Okay, if I go to File tab and Print, right now this is the print area. Okay, we need to change this. So to define a print area, in this case it's going to be A1 to K11, right? A1 to K11. And in the Page Layout tab, Page Setup group, right, we have Print Area, Set Print Area. Now watch what happens. If I go to the File tab and Print, now you get just, this is all you get, right? You just get that. Okay. So, step 14 is done. And then we'll click on Save. And then they tell you to close the workbook. All right. Are we at the finish line? Well, you know what? Let's take a look. Close the workbook. Step 16. There's the figure. Whoops. Went too far down. Hey, look at that. We are done. Just like that, folks. All right. Moment of truth. Back to top. Let's upload for grading. All right. Uploading file. Yes, submit. Grading project. And I've already done this once, so this is attempt number 2 for me. Okay, attempt number 2, 100%. As before, if you miss something, okay, go and look and then make the changes in your project file. So right now, if I scroll down a bit and I look at previous attempts, okay, there it is, attempt number 2. All right, so that is guided project 1-3, folks. Good luck. Again, take note of any of the hints that they give you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around. All right. Have a good evening, if it's evening, wherever you're at.